In this video, we will connect AI models to Notion pages using Notion Python client. We will learn how the Notion Python client works with simple Python examples and then dive into code walkthrough of the integration of Ollama and OpenAI models. Python has become the go-to language for AI model integration. Creating clients that connect with remote servers like Notion is made possible with Python modules like requests and JSON. It was a surprise when there were no official Python SDK that connect with Notion. After some searching, I came across Notion client. It claimed to be an unofficial Python SDK, which provides Pythonic interface to Notion blocks, pages, and database endpoints. What is a Pythonic interface? Notion Workspace is a database that is exposed through REST API endpoints. Each endpoint has its own queries, params, and payloads. When using Pythonic interface, we simply call Python methods and functions with varieties of dictionaries, lists, etc. And rest of the connection with the REST API is taken care by itself. It also provides the search method, which lists all the shared pages, databases, etc. This helps us in connecting with the AI model server endpoints and integrate easily with Notion pages. In the last video, we saw the Notion SDK in action, where the text from AI model is updating the Notion page. We will understand what happens behind the scenes in this video with basic examples first. We have to place a simple text sentence into the Notion page, add database entries, and review the updates in real time. These are some simple examples that we can try. Once we are able to do that, we can get the text data from the AI models and then place it inside the Notion pages. We have to create the integration in Notion account and share the page as shown in the earlier video. Notion is a huge database which is subdivided into workspaces, inside which we have databases, pages, and blocks, as we discussed earlier. We are reading and writing data into this database with help of Notion Python SDK. That means there will be set of read, update, and insert methods. We can see this in API abilities itself. Delete operation is an update process where the block, page, or the database is set to archive. This is actually important. We don't delete anything from Notion Workspace as such. Once the Notion page or a block or a database has been archived, after 30 days, it is automatically deleted. Among the read methods, first one is the search method. The search method is actually a search endpoint that you can find in the Notion API documentation itself. The search endpoint provides this kind of a response. Search endpoint has the object, which is a list, and it has got the results, which contains the payload that is the shared data in the Notion workspace. If you look at the request, if you have to send the request manually without Python, then this will be the curl request that you will be sending. And here you can also observe that this is actually a post request. It's not a get request. Usually the read methods are usually get, but in case of Notion search method, we have to send some additional information like what kind of query you are going to search for, and do you have any kind of filter that you are going to add, and whether you are going to sort the outputs. These points, whatever you are seeing here, is all incorporated directly into the search method. By default, we are not showing anything specifically queried. So when you don't specifically query anything, it will show and display all the data that has been shared. Data in the sense, the pages, the databases that has been shared are connected to the Notion API key. How to connect with the Notion API key, etc. has been discussed in the earlier video. You can take a look at that. This for loop that you are seeing here iterates over the list of objects that we saw in this area. So the list of objects, you can see the list is starting from here. The object, the ID, the URL, etc. is getting extracted from this list of dictionaries or JSON objects, and it is appended to this array. In this particular function, I'm using it for some specific updates. So I'm doing this. We can check the item type, whether it is a page or something else. It can be object, it can be a database also. Based on that, I am filling up the item ID, item type, item URL, and the item title. Now, this is how the search method operates. Next, what you are going to see is the create para method. The create para is actually the process of adding a paragraph object or a paragraph block to the Notion page. Before we dive into this, I would like to go back to the Notion API documentation, and under the documentation, if you look at the endpoints, you can see there are pages, there are databases, and there are search. If you look at all of these things, even if you look at the blocks also, if you will see that in case of the blocks, there is append block. You can append block, you can retrieve the blocks, etc. You can update the block, and also you can delete the blocks. If you click on any of these items, you can see how the actual command is sent. All of these commands are abstracted away, and it is kept as a Python object in Notion SDK client. If you look at the pages, in case of the pages, you will see there is no any delete option or a delete endpoint. And in the same way, if you look at the databases also, there is no any delete endpoint. That is because pages and the databases are usually not deleted. They are just updated to show that it has been archived. After some 30 days, the archive, whatever is in the archive, is getting deleted in Notion. That's how it works. Now that we have got some basic understanding of the endpoints, let us go back. In case of create para, we are going to append a block of paragraph type. You can see the object is a block and the type is paragraph, and the data is a rich text format, and we are going to give the text in this area. This is kind of a nested object scenario where the actual payload, the text that you are going to place inside the Notion page, is available in this location. Only concentration for us should be to change this location whenever we are going to work with the AI models. We'll be seeing how in a couple of minutes. We have seen the paragraph appending process. Next, we will look at how to create a page inside the database. Think about the database in Notion. If you are new to Notion, or if you have already got some bit of an experience with Notion, you will know that in order to create a database, first of all, you will need to know what is the schema of the database. Here is an example database. You can see that this database is created as a complete page, and it has got 3 columns. It has got the name column, it has got the GitHub name, which is a rich text format, and the language, which is a multi-select type. So you can see the type here, and you can see the GitHub name is of type rich text. And if you look at the name, and if you edit the property, you can see that it is of type title. This column, along with the types that you see here, is the schema of the database. And this setup, or the names along with the types, are required when you are going to create the page that you are going to insert or create into a database. Whatever page that you are creating, the page name, the link, the GitHub link, and the multi-select language name is updated here. Once we have built this object, this entire object is sent as the properties to the parent database using the page.create method. So using this simple method, we can actually execute this. We can execute this create page endpoint. So you can see that here we are using this link here, and we have to provide all this information. You can see the properties here. The same way, this kind of a property, it's a different property here which you are actually giving, but also you can see that there will be a parent database ID. So all of these things are condensed into a very simple setup here in Python Notion SDK client. This becomes much more neater and easier for us to manage. Finally, we have the delete page children. So when it comes to deleting the page, as I already told, we have to use the we have to use the archived equal to true option, and that will change the status from active to archive. So we have seen the basic examples of how we are going to read and create the text inside the Notion pages. In order to get the text from the AI model, we'll be using the basic inference functions. You can see that we have a get OpenAI inference function, which is actually calling the OpenAI client here. You can see the OpenAI client, and it is calling the chat.completion.create method and using the GPT-4o mini for getting the output. The difference here is that we are actually building the message in such a way that the history of whatever call that we are making is stored locally. So in this way, what will happen is the entire page that we are going to update to the Notion, all the data will be available to us as message history. If you want, you can write this history to a separate database and keep it there also. As you can see, the output is given as the content text, and this output is used in the next step. Before we go into the next step, we have to look at a couple of more functions. Among the functions is the create code in page. The create code in page takes the page ID, and you can see that it is creating an object block of type code, and the language is markdown. So the data that you are going to send to this particular function will sit as markdown inside the page. So this becomes much more easier because the AI model is going to send most of the time markdown data, markdown formatted data. So you can use that data directly into the Notion page and store it as markdown itself. Another function is the create h2, that is heading 2 in the page. This is creating a block of type heading 2, and here the question or the query that you are sending to the AI model is created as heading 2. We can have an additional function which creates just paragraph. We already saw how to create paragraph. That's what you are seeing here. Now, if you scroll down to the end of this particular script, you will see that in the main function, we are creating h2 in page where the user input is created as headings. The model output is taken in this particular line, that is line number 169. Here we are showing get Olama inference, which is similar to the get OpenAI inference, only the model are different here. Olama is a local model. And then once we get the output, we are going to create code in the page where the model output is created as markdown code in the page. So this is how we are actually updating the data from the model into the Notion page. Now that you have understood how the AI is integrating with Notion and how Notion Python SDK is helping to do that, we can actually go ahead and start creating code using ChatGPT. You don't need to actually type any of the code that I showed you. You can ask ChatGPT to create it, but you must be able to read the code that ChatGPT creates or the objects that ChatGPT creates, and then you need to be sure that it will execute properly. Most of the time, the AI models can give the payload wrongly, so you need to know the structure of the payload. So that's what I introduced in this discussion. Next is, after you have mastered the AI as well as the Notion API, the next thing that we can do is we can integrate various other services like YouTube and also your own servers like Django and Fast API servers that you have written to Notion also. You might have MCP servers, that is recent agentic servers that have been becoming predominant. You can actually link that also with your Notion workspaces. Understanding this one particular client can save you and help you to build a lot more applications. To start working on creating basic Notion databases and try to connect the Notion database along with the page to the AI models. Once you use Python, it will make it a breeze to automate the world. And in fact, once you start integrating with Python, your world will start slowing down because most of the things you will be doing it at a very high speed. Do leave a like, comment your ideas in the comment section, share it with others whom you think will need a system like this, and subscribe to my channel for further updates on similar kind of videos. With that said, I would like to leave this video with 4 words, that is explore, explore, practice, practice. See you guys. Have a great time.